Blah, blah, blah.
Nights on the Highway, presented by the Jam Handy Association, who reminds you to keep your Smuckers nearby and available on long truck trips. Wagoner, how old is this driving from? Presents Covered Wagon Safety Tips.
Nights on the Highways is a complimentary title that we of the American Road Builders Association gladly give to all people who drive safely at night. But the people who know the most about night driving, the men who by their record of safety have earned a place at the top of the list, are the men who drive the heavy interstate trucks.
Over here,
Through
buddy.
Nights of the Highway, in every sense of the word.
Isn't that 5
These
words?
truckers go out of their way to help others on the road. The driving public has come to know them as the most courteous drivers on the highway. And with all of
Does
this,
he have cue cards
they
on
have
both sides of the
established
camera?
Some of the finest safety records in the country.
I heard Mr. Wagoner had to make this intro after he maliciously mowed down a car full of baby puppies while driving his big rig.
And since night driving offers more dangerous problems,
Problems? I guess one of the benefits of driving truck is you don't need to know English.
The most expert night drivers in the world. Some time ago, the Interstate Commerce Commission, working in cooperation with the trucking companies, established a set of safety regulations designed to make the interstate truckers the safest driver
he said
on the
truckers.
highway.
He narrowly avoided getting his ass
Rigid
kicked by
enforcement
hillbillies
of
all
these
over the world named
regulations
Little
brought
John
the
or
desired results.
Bear Harley.
For dependability,
I trust depends.
endurance, courtesy, and skill, we will look far before we find a class of drivers who handle themselves and their vehicles with greater safety than the men behind the wheel of the big interstate trucks.
On
To help all drivers
CNN.
understand some of the problems of safe night driving, which these men have learned from many years of experience,
He's even got cue
and to
cards on
make
his
after
desk.
dark driving a real pleasure to all, we offer the principles of night driving, which have been developed by the interstate truckers and which have helped them win their enviable record for safety on the highways.
Nighttime.
Is the right time.
Time to hit the open road. Time for these giants of the highway to pull out from their terminals and carry their loads of freight
AKA
to
immigrants.
destinations hundreds of miles away.
Or just the local Taco
And the
Bell.
man who's going to tool one of these big babies over the night roads stuffs a shipping bill into his pocket, climbs into his cab with no more concern than if he were just going to the corner grocery,
And promptly takes off
rolls
his
out
pants.
to face the night and the highway. No matter what emergency he may have to meet and conquer, he'll bring in his load on time.
Isn't that X-Lax's
meeting a
motto
schedule
too?
that requires the utmost care and safety in driving at night.
Just get the bodies over the
These
state
men know
lines.
that night driving is different from day driving, and they understand the principles of safe night driving. Let's see for ourselves what some of these principles are. A white cat and a black cat
Are not
both
safe
seem gray in the
drivers.
dark, and so do arms and hands and fingers.
So make sure to
Because
shout
what we
obscenities
see
instead of flipping
depends
the
on
bird.
how much light there is to see by. So for safe driving at night, use your stoplight as well as hand signals.
Dang, that guy's tabs expired about 70 years ago. Not
If
very
this
safe,
man
Mr.
has a bright
Narrator.
light flashed in his eyes,
You can
he is
see his triple
momentarily
chin.
blinded. But fortunately, nature has given our eyes adjustable openings, which soon automatically close in a bright light like this. But while it takes the pupils of the eyes only about 1 second to close up, it takes them sometimes 60 seconds to open wide again.
About
after the
55
bright light
seconds
is gone.
longer than Paris Hilton's
Expert
legs.
night drivers know this, and therefore always obey the rule, dim your lights when passing, even if the other fellow doesn't dim his.
That stupid mother
The top
trucker,
of this
why I
table,
yada.
like a paved road or any such dry surface, absorbs a great deal of glare from headlights and road lights. The dry surface isn't shiny enough to reflect much light. But if the surface becomes wet,
Is this a
the
driving
water
film or how to
reflects
burn
light
ants
up
with
into
a
the driver's
magnifying
eyes,
glass?
making it difficult to see. So the safe night driver has another rule: slow down on wet pavements. All these words are equally prominent, but if one of them isn't always there, we suddenly notice it more than any of the others. It is natural for people to notice things more when they're not always there.
I can still see
The
Trucker
night
Carl's
driver
sweet green
bases
knife.
an important rule on this principle. Blink your stoplight with your brake. As far as night driving is concerned, we have only as much road to drive on as we can see. If our headlights are dim or the passing beam is on, the road we can see is short. If our headlights are bright, the road is lengthened. But no matter how bright our headlights may be, they give us only a limited amount of road to drive on.
Man,
On
headlights
hills,
suck.
the road we have to drive on is even shorter. And on curves, we cannot always see the road that lies before us. When we are driving along at night, we are safe only so long as we can stop within the distance we can see ahead.
So please,
If we are
don't leave your
driving too
headlights
fast
behind.
For safety, we will not be able to stop within the limits of the road that we can see. At night, the road we can safely drive on moves along only within the path of our headlights.
The rest of the world
So
ceases to
expert night
exist.
drivers always remember the rule: keep within your headlight beam. And last of all, Mr. and Mrs. Jones illustrate a night driving principle which is familiar to all of us. They have been driving until late at night and still have 60 miles to go. Mrs. Jones is anxious to get home and wants Mr. Jones to finish that snack and get back to his driving. "All right," says Mr. Jones. "It's just a case of keeping awake for another hour or so. Let's go." "Look out, Mr. Jones. You didn't see that chair, did you?" "Well, Mr. Jones, here's a suggestion.
Meth will keep
There
you
are some
awake.
dandy tourist cabins across the road, and a nice clean bed would look pretty good right now.
You want clean
That's
beds,
the
so
idea,
don't stop
Mr.
at the
Jones.
Holiday Inn.
You'll be home first thing in the morning and safe. Don't drive when sleepy."
Mr.
And so,
Johnson is
if we
introducing
remember
her to
these
the
simple
other
rules,
Mr. Johnson.
The rules that govern the most expert night drivers in the world, we too can make a fine safety record for ourselves and fully enjoy the pleasures of night driving.
Okay, I'm thinking we should give the Johnsons a little privacy. They are enjoying the pleasures of night driving. I bet he's blinking her stoplight. I bet he's keeping her within his headlight beam. And the #1 rule is, drive a Chevy. When you buy a Ford, the angels cry. Good night, everybody, and keep that Smuckers close.